All right, peace. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, giving honor and praise to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. Give a double honors to 7130 South Chicago that taught me this truth. And give a double honors to all the brothers and sisters that the Creator has awoken in these last days. With that being said, peace and shalom. All right, brothers and sisters, I want to talk about Roland Martin's critique or his show dealing with the situation that happened with Tyreek and the Miami, Florida. I assume that they were state troopers, but nonetheless, they still police officers, right? And, you know, the first video that Roland Martin has showed, he showed the Miami Police Department being very aggressively taking my man Tyreek out of the car, slamming him to the floor, and things of this nature. And in my opinion, that is very misleading, right? It's because we have to show the root cause of the situation that led up to the cops snatching him out of the car, right? And why I say that this is dangerous towards our people, I'm going to give you a scenario, right? This is a scenario that I'm going to use. I'm going to use the scenario of, let's say you got a sister, right? You got 2 or 3 sisters. And you a brother. you the oldest. Your sister, one of your sister come to you and tell you that she was beat up by her boyfriend, right? And the first thing that you do is, because you her brother, you gonna want to defend your sister. So you go off the fact that she got beat up. You can see the scars on her face and stuff like that. So you go out here and beat this guy up. Then, after all the smoke is cleared, she called the police on the guy. He goes to jail. He gets a bond, right? He goes to court. And then you find out that the reason why it got physical like that is because she was all in his face, calling him all out his name, and then she hit him upside the head with a frying pan or a broom. And then he gets off because she was the aggressor. She was the aggressor first. So why did I use that analogy? I use that analogy is that before you start engaging in something, you have to get all the facts straight. And what Roland Martin is not doing on his show is he's not showing all the facts of the situation. And let's say that these cops were racist, right? Let's say that they were racist. And that, and this is true. You have cops that are shooting black men, right? So if we know all this stuff, then why would we put ourselves in a position to get racially profiled or get physically assaulted by individuals because they're hiding behind a shield, right? The Bible says that you have to agree with your adversary, meaning that what? Sometimes when you're in a situation whereas you can be bodily harmed or physically harmed, if I'm using the proper English, sometimes you have to be wise and get out of the situation. Now, in the case of Hill, Tyreek Hill was being a butthole. Why do you say that? First of all, Tyreek Hill was driving his car. He was speeding, right? He was speeding, I believe. It looked like it was during the afternoon, right? Let's say if it was the afternoon or the morning. He's speeding. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you that if you're speeding, the police has a right to trail you and give you a ticket. So they come up to the car. They asked him, did he know he was speeding and all this type of stuff. When they came up to the car the first time, I believe that the windows were down. But when they come up to the car the second time, the windows is up, and then, they can't see in the windows because they got tinted windows, right? So they asking him basically to roll his window down. All of this would have been avoided if he would have just rolled his window down and allowed the cop to do his job. All of this stuff would have been avoided. So what did Tyreek do? Tyreek started being verbally aggressive towards the cop. Now, Roland Martin and them talking about that he didn't curse at the cop, or not, it doesn't matter. You have cops in a community, whether you like them or not. They're positioned in the community for a reason. They're doing their job, right? So whether you like him or not, the cop can be an asshole, right? But we going back to square one. If the cop asks you to roll your windows down to give you to see what's going on with the situation on why you were speeding, because at the end of the day, he could have got himself killed or he could have killed somebody. And this is what I'm sitting here listening to these folks. You got Roland Martin. You got, one second, let me speed it up a little bit, right? He has a panel, right? 1 second. You have a panel of people. All of these are educated black folks. And all I hear from these people is race and Donald Trump. They don't want to see. My mother always told me, you got a group of kids in there, you just can't, and they all in there playing or whatever. You got to get on every last kid. You can't spare the rod. And what's going on is that they are sparing Tyreek Hill because he got snatched out of the car by the police. Now, did that warrant that type of behavior from the police? Probably not. But we got to take in consideration of individuals. We don't know these people. These folks, you arguing with a police officer, he could be crazy. Now, what if they would have snatched him out of the car and pulled out their tasers and tased him? This is what I'm saying. All of this stuff could have been avoided if he would have complied with the police. And if he had an issue about rolling down the windows and things of this nature, he could have got their badge number and he could have handled it in court. That's as simple as ABC. Why are we continuing to fight against these individuals that has a license to kill black people? And then we make excuses on uh, why they doing this. Tyreek was speeding. He was in the wrong. And the cops is actually doing their job. All he had to do was give them the license or registration. You got Roland Martin. He didn't even ask him for his license and registration. Well, first of all, he didn't ask him for the license registration at first is because Tyreek was being verbally aggressive towards the police. Don't hit my window. Don't tap on my window like that no more. Now, when they got aggressive with his behind, then he want to be civil. You can't do that. You can't be aggressive towards a person, and then when they start being aggressive towards you, now you want to be civil. And you got the four people on this panel sitting up here talking about his civil rights was violated, right? But they're not taking into account of him putting himself in a position that he should never been in. And like I said this on the last video, he really disrespect a lot of black people that have really been wrongly, unjustly treated by police. You have a lot of black people that have been killed by the police, and there's no evidence that the police was in the wrong. You got a lot of black people in this country that was pulled over, racially profiled by police, right? And the police get off for it. And you have, we come today where we have cameras, we got cell phones and things of this nature. And here it is, instead of us acting civilized, we're acting uncivil. Tyreek was acting uncivil in this situation. He was not being racially profiled by the police. This is the situation of a young black man that's a millionaire, and he think that his shit don't stink. Now he gets on national TV. Now he want to play the race card. But when you was in the car and you was talking crazy to the police, what was that situation? It just baffles me, man, on how you have a lot of our people that's in position of power, and instead of us making other people accountable for the actions that they do, you know what we do to the people? We pamper them. It's because we have an I'm trying to pronounce the word right. We have a motive behind that. Why is the Tyreek situation dealing with Roland Martin? Why is Donald Trump coming up in the situation? Talking about Donald Trump wanting to get behind all the police because it's really it's a muzzle that's been put on the police because a lot of them are dirty, right? But here's another situation about this. You have a lot of us in the community, right? And I would throw myself in there just as well. Black people spend billions of dollars in the community. We don't control the educational, leadership, health, and economics that's in our communities. And we're always talking about race. We want to see. We want to talk about Donald Trump. We want to talk about Kamala Harris. We want to talk about the police department. But I remember 10, 12 years ago, Dr. Claude Anderson gave a very good critique about how black folks, if we came together and pull our resources together, that we can control a lot of the things that's going on in our communities, and we don't do it. It's because we have what you would call the welfare spirit. We want somebody to do something for us that we supposed to be doing for ourselves. Do you know that the Jews in their communities, they got their own educational system. They send their kids to schools that they have funded and created for themselves. They got their own ambulance and stuff like that. In certain cases, they even have their own police department. In certain communities that's in America got their own police department. And they put in people in a community, right? And they pay them to deal with crime or whatever else is going on in the community. And we got all of us, low, middle class, upper class, right? The poor. We can pull our resources together and do these type of things, but we don't want to do it. But every time something happens, we're talking about race. We don't even really have a major legal team, right? We don't even have that. Most of these guys that's on the panel, if you ask them to recite the Constitution, they can't do it. And you know, in law, they say ignorance to the law is no excuse. So in conclusion, Tyreek Hill was not being racially profiled, brothers and sisters. Tyreek Hill, he was the one that was provoking the police, whether you like it or not. And as the end result, when you poke at the bear's gonna do what? He's gonna raise up after your behind. Instead of them saying, Tyreek, you know, we love you, brother, but in this situation, you was wrong. They ain't doing nothing but adding more fuel to the fire. He's sitting on the panel talking about what if he was somebody else. We're not talking about nobody else. We're talking about you speeding out of nowhere. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, this message is geared towards us, including myself. When you come in contact with law enforcement, whether you like them or not, try to comply with what they saying. And if they're not doing their job, and you get out the situation unscathed, you can always take these people to court and let the legal system deal with them. Shalom.